Good morning. My name is Brianne. Welcome to North Chapel. It's wonderful to see you all here, and thank you to Diane for the beautiful decor on the altar this morning. Today, Minister Leon Dunkley will be delivering the service, and before we begin, we have several announcements. One I know by Mary and the other by Leon. Mary, would you like to share?
I just want to call your attention to something that's in the bulletin. It's a kirtan that's going to be here on next Friday evening. And it's a 1-year anniversary or celebration of the Oneness Center that meets every Thursday. And we hope all of you will come. Pure Kirtan will be doing the kirtan, and they came and were part of a service maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So it's a call and response and Hindu chants. Wonderful time. Hope you can come.
Good morning. For those of you who may not be aware, many years ago, before our COVID crisis, leaders at North Chapel convened a task force at North Chapel. Today is the 21st. Today is the first Sunday after the second Brave Light retreat at Star Island. I am utterly exhausted. I can barely spell my name. It was a really good thing, and I want to tell you all about it, but not today. What I wanted to do is give you a little bit of background. For those who may not be aware, leaders at North Chapel years ago convened a task force to see how North Chapel could be of service to youth and young adults in the Upper Valley. The task force was comprised of educators and church folks and youth leaders and students from Woodstock Union High School. We met monthly for more than a year. That process generated a report that was submitted to the board for their review. Thereafter, discussion made possible the pursuit of this idea further. So a grant proposal was written and submitted to raise the necessary funds, and we were successful years ago. We raised a lot of money from the Canada Foundation, from the Byrne Foundation, from the UUA funding panel in Boston, and from some private donors. We had to be artful about implementation though, because COVID crisis intervened. So we had to postpone what we had originally planned, and we had to make a lot of changes to the original idea. But we have something that is working now. In fact, we just completed the second year of Brave Light. Can I get help from you for a second? Can you just pass these? Just, have to. I'm going to send around a flyer so you can see it. You may have seen it already, but so that you can see the flyer that we generated. Let's see. We just completed our second year of bringing high school kids from the Upper Valley together with a group of kids from Boston, Little Country Mouse and City Mouse, leadership retreat at Star Island, free of charge for the Vermont participants. So there's a picture on the cover of your order of service. That's the Brave Light team from less than a week ago, traipsing across the island for some adventure. Our main speakers last year were Sherry Mitchell and Tim DeChristopher, absolutely spectacular leaders in life. Our speaker this year was Patty Hernandez from Telling Our Story over in Maine, I think she was. As we move through the summer and into the fall, let's keep talking about this. Let's continue the conversation that was started years ago by great leaders here at North Chapel about how to be of service to youth and young adults in the Upper Valley. One of our hymns sings, "What they dreamed be ours to do." And let's make that real and tangible in this beloved community. Hello to the Brave Light folks that I see who are out there, including Emily, where she just came in. And let's stay wise and brave. Thank you so much.
One of the things that came to mind when learning of today's service and thinking about children and community was one of the ways that I really loved watching the new film, Inside Out 2. We went to the theater a few weeks ago to watch it and had a lot of fun eating a lot of popcorn. And thinking about the different ways that certain films can kind of bring adults and children together, and it was one of those films. And one of the things that I loved about it was it reminded me, as I'm slowly learning how to best take care of myself, but also how to be in touch with my emotions. And I could really identify with the new character to the ensemble of emotions, anxiety, and the ways that she's very frazzled and tries to control everything in the film. And when she feels like she's losing control, when she's fearful, right? They distinguish between fear, I believe, as in wanting to protect Riley, the main character who's turning 13 in the film, wanting to protect Riley from things that she can see, whereas anxiety is trying to protect Riley from things that she can't see. And when anxiety, towards the end of the film, has her moment, right, an actual panic attack, there's this amazing cinematic moment, and she's really frazzled, and she's at the control board, and she's trying to, right, get everything in set, and they're able to slowly help calm anxiety down and all the different emotions, give her a hug, in this really beautiful, loving spirit that sometimes I need to remind and be reminded of the ways that sometimes all we need to do is to slow down, and anxiety and different emotions don't have to be bad, they don't have to be negative, they're not villains. But balance is really something to strive towards, and lightening up is also important, especially for myself. How do I not take myself so seriously?
It's the times when we are shaking in our boots that we are being most courageous. Bernice Johnson Regan said that. She just passed this week, so I'm trying to honor her in a little way. Bernice Johnson Regan was the first head of a group called Sweet Honey in the Rock. I'm sure you've heard their music, and she's a lovely person. When I think of courage, I think of my friend Chris Long. Chris and I went to seminary together, and he did a service at the Oakland Church, which was one of the strongest churches in the Bay Area, which was nearest our seminary. And for his first sermon before that group of people, highly critical group of people too, like a lot of ministers came out of the church. They used to call it the Oakland flu, because congregants so often went to seminary. So his first time before everyone, he got up there and he said, "I'm so very nervous, but I'm very prepared, I'm just ready to get going." And then he faked a sneeze, right? And he went, and he threw his sermon and seemed to go up in flames. I love you, Chris. It's a brother. Be wise and brave. Be wise and brave. Your own soul to save. Your own soul to save. Your message engraved in gold. Your message engraved in gold. I'll saddle up in the meantime. I'll saddle up in the meantime to make my way closer to you. to make my way closer to you. I'm gonna pack up my sorrows. I'm gonna pack up my sorrows. Throw down my guns, and give up the best of my heart. And give up the best of my heart. Hey, the best of my heart. The best of my heart. That verse was written for in a song called "Best of My Heart," but it was written after the Parkland tragedy that happened in Parkland, Florida, at the Marjorie Stone Douglas High School on Valentine's Day in 2008. What's the bravest thing that you ever did? Just think about it. What's the bravest thing that you ever did? Or what's the bravest thing that you're doing now? What's the bravest thing that is to come? Question, did you love all the kids in high school when you were a kid? Can anybody say yes? Are you still in touch with them? With any of them? Did you have back then, or do you have still now, what the artists call a playful heart? Okay. I'll tell you why I'm asking in a minute. Is it like a gift to still know the people that you have always known throughout your life? And is it like a gift to still love the people that you have always loved? And is it like a gift to want the very best for the very same people who have put you to the test? Even if we might not get that best for ourselves. There's a notion out there, a wartime notion, let's call it, that leads us to behave as if the most important things is to be winners in the game. But this is not the wisdom of the arts of war and peace. It's not even the language of war and peace. Here are 3 short quotations. We can know only that we know nothing. That is the highest degree of human wisdom. This is the language of war and peace. Pierre was right when he said that one must believe in possibility of happiness in order to be happy. I now believe in it. Let the dead bury the dead. While I am alive, I will live and be happy. This is the language of war and peace. The strongest of all warriors are these 2, time and patience. This is Tolstoy, the author of a great and famous book that was written in 1869 with Anna Karenina. War and Peace is widely understood to be Tolstoy's greatest literary achievement. I hope someday to read it, but I haven't read it yet. So I had to look up what I'm about to tell you. War and Peace is set during the Napoleonic Wars. The book mixes fictional narrative with chapters discussing history and philosophy. It chronicles the French invasion of Russia and its aftermath from 1799 to 1815. It uses 5 interlocking narratives following different Russian aristocratic families to illustrate Napoleon's impact on Tsarist society. Tolstoy published this book in 1869, 54 years after the end of the Napoleonic era. One wonders what great work will be written 54 years from now about the war and peace that we live through today. Leo Tolstoy is responsible for a book called War and Peace. The arts of war and peace are much more practical. Great art can be complicated, insightful, and profound. Great art can be dangerous, unfortunately in more ways than one. When we are not careful, great art can do us in. When we lack humility, great art does us in. We start by using it to parade our worth and dignity when we are not doing so well. We use great art to put ourselves up on pedestals and to put other people down. This is not why Tolstoy chose to write. There's a saying that I heard long ago, so many years that I can't remember who said it. I can't remember if it's a common saying or a famous saying or not. It really doesn't matter though, because it has stayed with me for so long, informing how I live my life, not how I choose to impress people. The saying is this: how quickly righteousness flies from the hands of those who try to wield it. That's the deep thing that stays with me. The thing that is lighter that stays with me is a fortune cookie that I got in Boston that said, "Go ahead and flaunt it." Wait for it. Go ahead and flaunt it. You're not that great. So I broke down and I looked up the phrase online, but I couldn't find the source. I couldn't find anything. So like I said, it doesn't really matter if it's famous. It really matters that I find it meaningful, and that I hope that you will too, especially when it comes to the arts of war and peace. Now, there's a book called The Art of War. It was written by a man named Sun Tzu. It stresses the deep value of humility. And there's a passage in the introduction that I find beautiful, and it goes like this. Physicians might appreciate this, so Lynn, I wonder what you'll think of this. It says, according to an old story, a lord of ancient China once asked his physician, a member of a family of healers, which of them was most skilled in the art. The physician, whose reputation was such that his name became synonymous with medical science in China, he replied, "My eldest brother sees the spirit of sickness and removes it before it takes shape. So his name does not get out of the house. My elder brother cures sickness when it is still extremely minute, so his name does not get out of the neighborhood. As for me, I puncture veins and prescribe potions and massage skin, so from time to time, my name gets around and is heard among the lords." The Art of War was written thousands of years ago, but it still speaks so meaningfully to me. It seems so fresh. It reminds us in war that there are winners and losers. Therefore, it is ever and always wisest not to fight. It's always wise to nurture humility, through whom humility all things are new, and so much is possible. Wouldn't it be like a prayer, still to know all the people you have ever known? Wouldn't it be like a prayer, still to love all of the people who you have ever loved? And wouldn't it be like a prayer to want the very best for the very same people who have put you to the test? While The Art of War was written thousands of years ago, The Art of Peace was written in 1992. It too begins with a story of humility. The Art of Peace revolves around the life of a man named Morihei Ueshiba. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Does anyone know? Morihei Ueshiba. He lived from 1883 to 1969. That was the year that the Mets won the pennant. Morihei Ueshiba was history's greatest martial artist. Even as an old man of 80 years, Morihei could disarm any foe, could down any number of attackers, and could pin an opponent with a single finger. Although invincible as a warrior, Morihei was above all a man of peace who detested fighting, war, and violence of any kind. His way was Aikido, which translates as the art of peace. The Art of Peace is a book of hundreds of short quotations that serve as lessons, as prayers, as meditations, as sacred instructions. At their many centers, I always find humility. The book reads, "The art of peace begins with you. Work on yourself and your appointed tasks in the art of peace. Everyone has a spirit that can be refined. Everybody has a body that can be trained in some manner, a suitable path to follow. You are here for no other purpose than to realize your inner divinity, and to manifest your innate enlightenment. Foster peace in your own life, and then apply the arts to all that you encounter. Wouldn't it be a blessing still to know all of the people you have ever known? Wouldn't it be a blessing still to love all of the people you have ever loved? And wouldn't it be a blessing to want the very best for the very same people who have put you to the test? These gifts, these prayers, these many blessings, aren't these the precious things worth fighting for? The idea of fighting, as I'm using it now, is subtle, it's nuanced. It requires humility, not violence. Only through humility can we know what it means to truly be brave. Now I have to change directions for a moment. There's some harder stuff I need to share with you. I have a friend, I have friends, many of them actually, loving friends, peaceful friends, maybe you do too, who have recently expressed a vulgar sadness, who have expressed regret that a crazed gunman in Butler, Pennsylvania, had missed his target. Now, the health of our culture does not always lend itself to the pulpit very easily. In fact, Sophia Betancourt, the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, recently reposted a message from a colleague, and the message read, "Now is the perfect time to be silent. Misinformation and disinformation is about to be wild. Be patient and wait for actual information." The message was dated July 13th, the day of the violence in Butler, PA. I have another friend with whom I share history and some experience. We went to high school together. We are Facebook friends, and we have a genuine love for one another, but we're not close. In fact, I haven't seen or spoken to him face to face since 1987. I realize that that's more than 37 years. There have been more than 445 months, more than 13,540 days, more than 325,000 hours, almost 19 million minutes. There have been more than 1 billion seconds that have gone by. And I think by now, I know what you might be thinking, what you might be feeling. It seems obvious when I look at time through the eyes of the soul that so short a span of time is hardly enough to impact a friendship that is real. I'm not trying to be clever or cheeky. I honestly believe that this is true. Time is what we make it, and 37 years is not a lot of time. It's a lot of time to be delayed in an airport. I'll grant you that. It's not a lot of time to grow one's soul. It's not a lot of time if you're trying to say I love you to a friend. Artists are painters of the soul. Some artists paint with colors. These are the traditional artists. Some artists paint with words. These are the writers and the poets and the philosophers. Other artists paint with action. These are the dancers and the athletes and the adventurers. Some artists paint with purpose. These are the builders, the architects and engineers. Other artists paint with laughter. These are the mimes and the jesters and the comedians. Jim Carrey is one of these artists, and so much more. He's a deeply spiritual man and a humble man to boot. He said, "Life is so beautiful, especially when I'm absent from it." Don't get me wrong, Jim Carrey is a great character, and I was lucky to get the part. But I don't think of that as me anymore. I used to think that I was a guy who was experiencing the world, and now I feel like the world who is experiencing the guy. So there's been a kind of shift, he says. Do you get what he's trying to say? He goes on, he says, peace that that peace that we are after lies beyond personality, beyond perception of others, beyond invention and disguise, beyond effort itself. You can join in the game and fight the wars and play with form all of you want, but to find real peace, you have to let the armor fall. Don't let anything stand in the way of the light that shines through this form. Risk being seen in all of your glory. Especially in Vermont, we have laws that will support you. He says, you will only ever have two choices, love and fear. Choose love, and don't ever let fear turn you against your playful heart. Do you still have your youthful and playful heart? My friends from high school vote for people with whom I profoundly disagree. They drive me mad. My friends from high school can say the very same of me. I'm sure I drive them to fury just as readily as they drive me to fury, but I'm lucky with most of them. Most of them don't surrender. Most of them don't succumb to the ways that we are being taught to fight, carefully taught to hate and fear, carefully taught to be afraid, carefully taught to cower until we are less than wise and brave. I don't feel like going down that path. Be wise and brave, your own soul to save, your message engraved in gold. Great artists paint with time. That's us. That's all of us. That's the general category. We are all great artists painting with time. The lives we choose to live are great art. Great art can be complicated, insightful, and profound, which is to say that life can be this way. Great art can be dangerous in more ways than one, and great art can do us in if we are not careful, which is to say that life can be dangerous in more ways than one, and that life can do us in if we are not careful. To be clear, I am not sharing this with you as an advisor might. I'm not sharing this with you because these dangers are real and because they cannot be, I'm sharing this with you because these dangers are very real and they cannot be avoided. They can never be avoided, even as often as we have tried. We are here to face them. At the center of great works of art, at the center of every life, there is always a great human challenge, some obstacle to overcome. We would miss that obstacle if it wasn't there. Imagine Moby Dick if the story avoided going out to sea. Imagine War and Peace if it avoided mention of Napoleon. Imagine if we avoided the greatest challenges in life. What would we do of ourselves then? The beautiful thing about my friend from high school is that when he heard the sort of vulgar sadness of friends who were disappointed, he wrote one thing out for everyone to see. He wrote to everyone he knew. He said, if you are disappointed that the bullet missed its target, please unfriend yourself. It was a Facebook post. And I wrote beneath that, well done, my old friend. I've been tempted to participate in that vulgar sadness. I'm sometimes tempted to be so vocal with my rage that I'm irresponsible with my faith. My friend Todd in New Jersey reminds me to choose differently. One of the things that I do to practice humility is music. My favorite practice of music is to go to a body of water at daybreak or sometime before the sunrise and sing and play across the water until the sun comes up. I started that practice at Star Island, where I just was last week, but I do it in my bedroom, I do it in my living room, I do it at Silver Lake sometimes in South Royalton. It's the same in every place, it's just as beautiful in every place. I posted a picture of that. Someone took a picture of me at Star Island because I kind of occupy one little spot there. It's kind of annoying for most people. And they took a picture of me there probably 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, and they posted it online. And beneath that title, beneath that picture, my friend Todd responded. He usually doesn't. He responded by saying, "Good morning, brother." So there's a way. It might not be immediately available to us, but there's a way. Having just come back from Star Island, where we took a group of kids from the Upper Valley to talk about leadership for 3 days in the fiercest way I know how. It's very clear that there's a good way forward. It's right before us. I think what it takes is just some humility, a little bit of courage, and the ability to remember what it means to talk to someone who's 15, who's 17, and who is smarter than we are. Surrendering my pretense, I find it quite easy to remember the 15-year-old who is still inside of me, who is often smarter than I am now. So as we move forward and head out into the world, I hope that we continue a conversation about bravery, about humility, and about the great art that is our lives in a way that would make Tolstoy proud, in a way that would make our families vibrant and alive, in a way that would bring us the most amount of happiness that we can find. In these days that we get to spend together, in these times where we get to look at one another, let's see if we can find a way to let the walls come down. My own right now, for nervousness, for wanting to say the right thing. Ours together, perhaps, for wanting to share the truth of one another's lives. There is so much beauty in this room, and so often we're given reasons to doubt that, to doubt ourselves, or to fight with one another, or to fight with the way the world is. Maybe there's a way to soften into the world, as uncomfortable as it is, and not shrink away from our beauty, not compromise our dignity, not lessen that which is within us, that is wise and brave. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.